You're now tuned in to the Rise Above podcast. Interviews with everyday people that are building a better life as we speak. For those building a business from scratch, climbing the corporate ladder, or simply following their dreams to rise above to the next level.
Welcome, everybody, to the Rise Above podcast. This is episode number 7. I'm being joined by a special guest today. I've got Lucas Caneda. Lucas is a professional rugby player. Lucas is a global team lead of Unicorn. Unicorn is a rural tech incubator accelerator. Lucas is also a director of one of its startups, Challenger X. Challenger X is a SaaS and B2B company who is turning Davids into Goliaths through digital and traditional marketing. It offers radical improvement of the revenues and profitability of amateur sports clubs throughout Europe and around the world. Lucas is also a father. Welcome to the show, Lucas. How are you doing today?
Hey, Bram. Thank you for having me at your show. It's a pleasure being here. Doing fine. Looking forward to this conversation. So yeah, just let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your story. You wear many hats there. You know, being a professional athlete, I believe that's pretty demanding with training and playing and recovery and rest and whatnot. But yet you're also a leader there of a team and a father. So how do you balance everything? What do your days look like?
They look pretty busy, to be honest, but I do enjoy it. I do think there's more to gain about doing all this stuff, and I'm pretty happy to be doing it. So, of course, it requires effort, but everything does. If you're not willing to do what it takes, you're probably not getting far. So I managed to join my passions, I would say, which is usually not something easy to do. So when I was young, I always wanted to become a professional rugby player, right? I come from Argentina. I'm currently living in France. Why? Because I knew when I was back home that if I wanted to fulfill my dream, I had to go somewhere else because there were no professional teams back in Argentina. So I knew I had to go elsewhere, and I looked for my opportunity. I worked very hard for that opportunity, even though it was tough, of course. I mean, the things blocking, things not going as expected. But eventually, 5 or 6 years ago, I actually managed to get an opportunity and I didn't hesitate. I flew right away. And that's when my professional career in rugby started. I've done that for say 1 year, just focusing on that. After that, I started also studying while I was a professional player. And 2 years ago, I decided that was, I would say, not enough, that I wanted other things too. So I also started working while I played. That's how I came to Unicorn, how I started at Unicorn and how I managed to mix things up between business and sports. And I think there's great connections and a lot of added value in doing both things at the same time. Because especially in the startup world that we live in, there's lots of things that go hand by hand. You need to be able to say, roll up your sleeves and put yourself to work. You need to be able to learn how to take a hit and stand back up. That happens a lot in rugby and happens a lot in the startups. You need to know that it's not an easy trip. It's not an easy journey, but the journey itself, it's actually a great experience. And there's lots of synergies between business and sports that can actually be of good added value to both sides of the coin.
Okay, awesome. So you mentioned the journey there. That's a perfect segue. That's something I really wanted to explore with you, what your journey looked like, your personal journey, growing up and falling in love with rugby and pursuing that passion, and then, it bringing you here to where you are today. What's your story look like from the beginning? I know there's a little bit of adversity in there. You were told by the majority of people that you're too small to play rugby. You're 5'7". And I know you had an injury in your career as well that was fairly major and potentially career ending. So I'd love to hear about that from your perspective.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when it comes to being too small to play rugby, I was told many times that, I mean, if I wanted to become a professional player, I should have been a couple inches taller. And I said, okay, that's not something I can change,
Right.
but I can do a lot more that you guys think I can. Of course, you need to work to get there. You need to do what it takes. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes you want to stop. But as long as you have something in mind, I do think you should follow your dreams and do what it takes to get there. And I like to sound, egocentric or whatnot, but it can be done. If you do what it takes, if you actually put the effort into it, you can actually get where you want to be. In my case, that was becoming a professional rugby player. It took a long while. I finally came to France when I was 25 years old. I had that in mind for the last 3 or 4, I think. So it doesn't come quickly, or at least not always. But you need to keep going till you actually get where you want to be. If you want to speak about my I would say serious injury, I think on one side that happens. I mean, in every sport, in everything that you do, you will have problems or obstacles to face, some things to overcome. In my case, I had a big knee injury, broke my ligaments. Some people said it might have been a career-ending injury. After a couple of days, I mean, of course, you feel a bit bad about what happened, but then you quickly turn your mind into positive thinking and start thinking ahead, what's coming next? How do I recover from this? So, I mean, a couple of things that happened is when I was at the game I got injured. We had our doctor at my team. He was, those kind of guys that tell every time tells you, yeah, keep going. This is nothing. So when I got hit, went to the floor, tried to stand up, and then my knee started like feeling weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I fell down and I called the doctor. I said, hey, strap my knee up. Something's wrong. Strap it up so I can keep going. He started checking and he said to me, looked straight to me in the eyes and said, not this time. It's like, how come not this time? Strap it up. I need to keep going. He said, this time I cannot do this. When he said that, I mean, I knew something was wrong. He never does. He's always the one pushing to keep going. So yeah, I knew it was serious. Then I had a couple, I would say, pointers that helped me recover pretty much. One of them was my injury was kind of at the end of the season. There were still some games left, but I knew it was a 6 to 8 month injury. So I set myself an objective. I checked for the next season, what was our first game. And actually, it was one of the best teams in Argentina. And I said to myself, I need to be at this game. So I went to my coach, which I appreciate very much. I have an excellent relationship with him, great coach. asked him, "Hey, I know we played this game, first game of the season. I need to get ready before the first game. You always have like we call it friendly games. I know you guys call it in a different way.
Exhibitions.
Back in Canada, exhibitions. Yeah. So it's like tests. You usually have three games before the actual start of the season. I started doing some maths, and the first exhibition game was 5 months and 1 week after my surgery. So I told the coach, "Hey, I know I need to play at least some exhibition game for you to put me on the team for the first game, but how many do you need me to play? Because first game is like 5 months away, and I probably won't be there in time." He looked at me and he said, "You need to play all three." I was like, "Dude, that's physically impossible. That gives me 5 months to fully recover from a knee injury, and usually it takes between 6 and 8. I can try and push for 6, but," he said, "if you don't play all three, you won't be on the first game." It's like, fuck, okay, I need to do something. And I was so focused on getting to the first game. I remember my surgeon, he said to me, "Okay, these are the exercises that you need to do as soon as you can after you get operated." Okay, there's a couple of very basic things that you need to do. And I remember after my surgery, the room was not ready yet, so I was on my bed laying on a hallway before going to the actual room, a bit feeling dizzy a bit yet because of the anesthetics and everything that you take for this surgery. And I started doing the exercises. I knew I had no time to lose. I don't know. And then when I told my surgeon that I started like an hour after the surgery, he looked at me and said, "Are you nuts or what?" He said, "Dude, you said as quickly as you can." I couldn't do it before. Not before, but after. Should wait a bit. No time to lose. I don't know if that helped or what did, but the good thing about the story is that 5 months, 1 week later, I was playing the first game. Everything went well. I played 10 minutes, not more, just to try it out.
Yeah.
But it was more than enough, right? And second exhibition game, I played like 60, third all game. And then first season game, which was very important, I managed to play the whole game. So, I don't know, the beauty of the story is that if you do what it takes, if you actually invest yourself into, the results are usually a lot better than if you don't do as much, right?
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like you're definitely on a mission there to suit up and be ready for that game. That's I think that's important to set those targets and put in the work. Exactly what you said. I think that's a great story. Being that you're a competitor, you're an athlete. I know you're wired differently, right? So what does it feel like when there's all that pain and adrenaline going through your body and the surgeon is telling you not this time? At the same time, in what other ways have you been told, not this time, that you've still been able to prove people wrong?
The feeling was pretty weird because it took him, I think, 3 or 4 times to convince me that this was not that time, not this time. I was like, come on, strap it up. Get it going. No time to lose. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, with the adrenaline, when you got your head on the game, you sometimes lose perspective of what's happening. I do think those are the best moments in sports, when the only thing that matters is what's happening on the pitch. You don't even listen to what happens on the outside, right? Your head's really on the game. That's where you perform the most, and it happens on business too. That again, it's a great connection between both things that I do right now and what I like, which I really enjoy, right? That you can actually put into work one side on the other. And in terms of business, I mean, when our funder, Dom Einhorn, funded Unicorn here in Salah, which is a very small town in the southwest of France, people told him this is not possible. We actually had a conversation with someone explaining what we wanted to do for like 20, 30 minutes. And at one moment she said, "Stop. I'm sorry to tell you, but this is never going to be possible." I mean, our reaction was, "Excuse me, lady, but I'm sorry to tell you that I've already done it." And her face, like, just completely turned around. How? What do you mean that you've already done it? Yeah, we are already here. We were around 10 people 12 months ago. We are over 55 right now, from 27 different nationalities. We've created a team. We've crafted a team of different people, different cultures, different knowledge. So a very powerful team that allows us to perform, even if we are in a rural area, which is very small. And it's one of the things that we try to prove is that you don't need to be in London or in Paris to actually have a business of your own. You can be in a detached area like ours, still have the power to do what it takes.
Nice. Okay. So your story in transitioning from, well, at the same time you're still a professional athlete, but now you're also in the business world. How did that opportunity come about for you to join Unicorn?
Well, for the last 2 years, I knew I wanted something else. Professional rugby was not enough for me. I know how to call it, but I'm always looking for more, I would say. It's kind of part of my winning mentality, I think, which some people think it's not a very good idea, but I try to prove them wrong. I hate losing, and I'm kind of, I would say, proud of that attitude. It drives me nuts to lose at whatever I do, no matter the level. Yeah, I mean, I'm super competitive. But I think that actually takes you further down the route instead of pushing you down. I think it gets the opposite. At least in my case, I think it just drives me to keep going forward, keep looking for more, and that's how I decided to look for something else, not just playing rugby, but also finding a job, something that what I do like is that you need to be passionate about what you do. I think it's crucial to success. That's why I did what I did for rugby, because I'm a complete passionate about it, and that's what I do at Unicorn is for me too. And I've found my passion on the business world too. That's what keeps me going, keeps me looking for more. And the story is quite, I don't know if I'd say interesting, but when the club called me, we are a very small club. Salah Rugby is a small club, 5th division in France. So rugby-wise, I was not pretty thrilled, I would say. But I decided to take a first step and told the guys I would like to meet you before I decide to actually commit myself into playing with the style of rugby, I would like to meet you guys, see who you are. And so I drove with my wife. She was 8 months pregnant. We drove 8 hours in one day to come meet them. And that's what changed everything, because I've met Dom, the founder of Unicorn. He goes 200 miles an hour. He's always on the run for business. So Unicorn actually incubates and accelerates Sala Rugby. We consider the club being one of our clients in that sense. Right. And that's how everything came together. Rugby, business, Unicorn, Sala Rugby. It's all part of the same ecosystem that we're building. And that's how it became a reality.
Wow. Okay. So the common denominator there being the rugby, because Starlet Rugby being one of the clients there of Unicorn, that was the connection that kind of brought everything together. Okay, cool. You're brave. You and your wife at 8 months pregnant, you drove that far, and going
not me, my wife.
Oh, she was driving.
No, I was driving, but I mean, it's hard to convince 8 month pregnant woman to drive for 4 hours. But yeah, she said, if we are moving to that place, I'd like to meet them. Okay, let's go.
Good stuff. That's amazing. She's like a business partner of yours then too.
For sure.
Watches 100%. Out for your career and whatnot. That's amazing. Yeah. I think that's an important relationship right there.
Hands down. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
You do need that support, and that it's the only way I can see the relationship to work, support each other.
Yeah. And happy Father's Day, by the way. We just celebrated Father's Day 2 days ago. I don't know if it's an international. It is international.
International. Right? Yeah, it is.
Stuff. So earlier we were talking, you mentioned your daughter is 9 months at this point. So how do you do it? Like, there's probably so much demands for your time. How do you keep everybody happy? What's the secret? How do you do that?
Well, I don't know if it's a secret or what do I do, but I don't really, it's hard to say, but I don't really think think about what others think, but I like myself to be happy. Mm-hmm. And the people around me, like my family or the people are my friends. So I tend to focus about that first, because I know if I'm happy, I'm going to perform a lot better.
Right.
That's why I do think that you need to find your passions and work on those passions, because if it doesn't become a burden. It's all the opposite. If you love what you do, it's not a problem, right? Mm-hmm. And also, we come back to the family support that you mentioned before. My wife understands when I come back at 9 instead of at 5, because I had 3 meetings in a row. Of course, I try to, I would say, not compensate, but I try to spend time whenever I can with them. I do my best. I don't know, for lunch I go back home, try to spend some time. Little things. I think don't need to do big, great things, but just little details that can actually take you to where you want to be. And always know what you want to achieve, what you want to do, because it's a lot easier when you like what you do than anything else.
Absolutely, yeah. You gotta do what makes you happy, because when you're happy, it reflects on everybody else that's around you, right? So you can be the best version of yourself. That's a good answer. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about what you do and the kind of team that you lead at Unicorn. And I'm really interested to learn more about what it is that an incubator accelerator does. Like, how do you work with companies, and from a marketing standpoint, what is it that you guys really do to help the companies grow? And then also we'll look to explore your role as a leader, how that looks. How do you lead a team like that, and so forth?
Sure. We take the startups the American way. So we ask for three main questions. First, do you have a proof of concept? Second, do you have a couple clients? Third, were you able to convince at least someone on your family that what you're doing is actually bringing a solution to a problem and not just creating a new problem? Why do we ask this ourselves? This third question is because if you're not able to convince your family, how are you going to convince, first and foremost, ourselves, Unicorn, to be working with you? And then if we present you to potential investors, how are you going to convince them, right? So once those three questions are, I would say, replied, which already becomes a big filter. I would say at least half the people that contact us don't get to that filter. We ask ourselves one key question is, what is it that we are going to do to add value to what you are doing and how quick? And then it becomes a bit of our understanding of the project, because we don't do, I would say, models. We actually do specific work for specific clients. It's not that we take in everyone and we just do the same for each client, because that usually doesn't work for many reasons. But first, being that startups are all at different stages.
Right.
So their needs are very much different one from the other. Then their objectives are usually different. Their needs are differ from one another. So you need to be able to identify and prioritize what do they need the most, what are they able to, I would say, afford, and where is it that you're going to really create the most impact. So if we are running marketing campaigns in different markets and we're just starting, we'd like to say the lower hanging fruit. I'm not going to be searching for tons of time ahead, but I'm actually grasping what I can grab very quickly to get us some traction, to move forward, and then with that traction, keep going. So it becomes, like, I would say, a negotiation between the client and ourselves, where we usually just jump into a call and understand what they're looking for, and come up with very specific ideas or marketing campaigns or actions that will bring them a couple steps further. We do measure everything that we do. That's one of the key points on our business, on the digital marketing side of what we do. We measure and we do KPIs for everything that we set up. That allows us two things. First, to actually show the results to our clients, but also internally, it allows us to identify the things that are working the most, keep doing it, to keep doing those and not do the rest, right? So it's, I would say, a filter to grow up into the pyramid and keep pushing. Just as some information, thanks to these filters, we actually say no 9 out of 10 times. It's not because we play hard to get, but actually because we think there's no connection or no synergy in what we guys are doing. And because we hate losing time, wasting time on both sides. So I don't want you to waste time, but I don't want us to waste time either. So I'd rather be honest and say, no, I'm sorry, but this is not good for any of us for this and for this reason. And let's hop into the next.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, in my line of work too, it's something that I speak about a lot with my team and the people that I work with. It's pick the right spots to be in and put all your time into that. It's like 20% of, at least in our world, 20% of our partners bring in 80% of the revenue. So you really want to focus in and give more of your time to that 20%, right? That are bringing in the numbers.
Makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to hear from your perspective too, in how you're filtering the people that you work with based on the fit, and it's got to be a win-win for both parties. You got to have that synergy and that value to one another.
Okay. 100%.
What does your team look like over there at Unicorn? So in terms of an incubation and helping startups, what kind of value do you guys bring to a company? And I know you said that it can be different company to company in terms of what you offer, but just as a general overview, as a startup, if I'm coming to you as a startup and I'm saying I need some help, I need you guys to help me grow this thing, what services and tools and resources do you guys provide to the startups?
Great question. We are a digital marketing agency, first and foremost. So we do article syndication, SEO, ASO. We currently own more than 5,000 keywords in the Google Play and App Store, ranked number 1 today in 17 different languages. Mm-hmm. So those are some of the things we can bring to the table pretty quick. I would say that's like first point, like a departure point in anything that we do. And then we bring a mixture of things. For instance, we are hosting the Startup Super Cup in Sarlat, 1, 2, 3 October. And what are we doing? We are bringing investors and startups from all over the world to meet each other. It's an event that's specifically designed to make startups meet the capital that they need to thrive. So everything will happen in a concentrated area. People will have meetings between each other that they can set up in advance to actually find that potential lead that they need. And we are changing a bit the ratio that everyone does at these kind of events. We are having 8 investors for each startup. That means that the chances of actually getting the funds that you need are much higher. So those are some of the things that we bring to the table to our startups. We bring the opportunity to participate in this kind of events. And also, we are very picky about the people that we bring. It comes again to our business model that we pick our clients. This is the same thing. The investors that are actually coming to the event are not people just that like to travel. They are actual investors coming here, yes, because they'd like to meet us. They'd like to meet the region, get to know the place, drink some wine, eat some cheese. But the main reason that they are coming is that they're here for business.
Right.
They're here to find their next investment. So we always ask for proof of investment in the past 12 months, for instance. That's mm-hmm. one of the requisites for being allowed to participate at the event. So we're not bringing anyone, we're bringing actual investors to the game to meet the startups that they are looking for. Then I'd say that's the support that we bring to the table. One of the things we do best, and we've run lots of campaigns for many different clients in the customer acquisition. So that's another key point that we bring to the table for startups. But again, it depends a lot on what stage are they into. But we would like to consider ourselves, once you've replied to the first 3 questions, we become like, say, A to seed incubator, accelerator. We can take the whole process. And for instance, one of our startups we took from scratch like 14 months ago. And in the next couple of weeks, that startup is going to be floating at Canadian stocks and Germany at a dual listing. So we took it from scratch into public markets. I would say that's pretty much the whole thing. Valuation is going to be around 100 times higher in 14 months. Nothing to complain about that.
Nothing at all. That's awesome. So you pre-select these companies. You have the expertise there to help them, grow their customer base, bring in that revenue, and then you guys also host events where you connect them to investors to add more value and capital and funding behind it. And eventually, I guess the goal is to take this thing to the markets and go IPO and make a lot of people very wealthy in the process, I bet, too. So it's a great business model.
It's a very interesting experience also to take a company public. And some people think it's impossible. Well, it's not, but it's certainly not an easy thing, especially if you don't have the support behind you that has done the process 100 times. And we have the people inside the house to get that done for the companies that are actually on that process.
Good stuff. Okay. So what does that process look like? I mean, in terms of, I bet there's a lot of regulations and securities and whatnot to go through. So at the same time that you're helping these partners of yours grow their business, at the same time, there's actually a business element to it as well, that you have to satisfy all of these requirements to go public. So what does your team look like in terms of the kind of staff and the kind of expertise that you have in-house? It's got to be the entire thing then, from at least what I'm trying to understand from this. You guys actually are building these businesses, not just growing the customer base, but you're actually doing a lot of the business work as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's two sides of the story, I would say. So you need to have the internal people that work with you that have done this for a long period of time. We've got those people in. We have two CFOs internally. One that's, I would say, focused on the US, Canada markets and UK, and one for the Europe. Mm-hmm. And also, you need to have the external help, the relationships with the people that have done this already, because you need the brokers, you need everything. You need the contacts between with the securities. You need to know the process and how to go through the process. And we know that those kind of guys too, because we've worked with them over the past years. So, I mean, that's the interesting thing about it. In fact, we are currently listing one of our companies, Challenger X, that you can find at challengerx.io. We are trying to beat the records in terms of speed for listing. We funded the company, I would say, 2 weeks ago, and 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the objective is to be listing in the Aquis Exchange in London and also in Germany in, I would say, 8 weeks total, which is pretty insane. Yeah,
from seed to the listing in 8 weeks total. That's You're such a competitor. I can feel that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the idea, and that's one of the, I would say, the biggest projects we have right now. Challenger X is taking sports and clubs to a whole different level. We usually try to test things first, do the things internally before we actually tell someone else to do it. It comes back to the same business model. That's why we ask for a proof of concept whenever we decide to work with a client. That's why whatever we do it first. We try it and then we put it into work. we believe Sarla Rugby is our proof of concept. So what we are doing with Challenger X is that we are rebranding clubs, so small clubs, amateur and semi-professional clubs, and take them to a whole different level, make them look and work as professional clubs. If you go to one of the websites, you shouldn't be able to notice the difference. This is why we say we are turning Davids into Goliaths. So we're turning the small ones into the big ones. This is a process that we've done already, that we showed that it works through our rugby club right now. For instance, we took social media 9 months ago. We had roughly 1,500 followers on Facebook alone. Now we are over 130K.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's one of the things we are bringing into the table. People told us sponsoring could not be done or could be done just to a certain level, that we're reworking all that. We've signed sponsorships all around. And we'd like to show other clubs how to do it. We've also signed 62 broadcast agreements all around the world. So we currently have on our power the ability to show the world what we are doing with these broadcast agreements, TV stations included. Today we have 90 million household threshold. So we are going to reach out to at least 90 million people through this broadcast TV streaming agreements. That's something we also want to leverage into the thing. And what I like to call the cherry on the top is that today we are in a position that we can mint a token, a social token. Mm-hmm. It takes us between 10 and 15 minutes to actually mint a token for any club that we want. We've done it already with Sarla Rugby. It's called Sarla. So SARLAT. We have not yet promoted, but we own it. And the idea is to provide this tokenization opportunity to the clubs through Challenger X. And the beauty about it is that you can actually do whatever you want with it. Being a social token, it allows you to create different groups. Let's say you love one of the players and you like to have a conversation with him. Okay, if you own a certain amount of tokens, you can actually have a one-on-one meeting with him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Things of that sort. I mean, you can actually buy a jersey with a token on our online store, or you can help the team grow but by sharing a Facebook post, and you can actually earn a token by doing that. The world is very big in terms of tokenization and the things that you can actually do with them. And that's the beauty about it. And that's what we like. That's why we think it's a crucial point of Challenger X to have these tokens minted for specific clubs that participate with us. And also what we've identified, the problems that we've seen and the, how to say that, but the problems to overcome in every club are the same. So we've identified all of them through Sarla Rugby, and we managed to create a know-how what to do for every club, no matter what sport they are playing, no matter where in the world they are. The problems are always the same. So we know how to face them. Well, first and foremost, it's image branding. It needs to have a complete rework. That was the first thing that we did. We took our logo, we pushed it to the next level. We made something that you can actually identify with your brand. We're not just creating a club, but we are creating a brand. And that's something you need to have in mind. People need to be identified with what you're doing, with your brand. And wherever you see it, they need to know, okay, this is Sarla Rugby, because that's the connection that you need to bring. We had a merchandise problem. They were only selling jerseys 3 years old. Something you need to fix. You need to have the good providers that we bring to the table to the new clubs for a competitive price. You need to have a product base. We started with zero. It was nothing, so it's easy start. We currently have over 20 different products that you can buy, merchandise that you can actually buy from the club. There were no selling points of those products. Before we came in, the only way to buy stuff was at-home games, which happens once or twice a month during 8 months, 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
That's
right.
It's very hard.
Right.
So what did we do? We created an online store, an e-store on our website, which is pretty amazing. We encountered over 20 different shops around town that are selling our stuff at their place. We are getting, Sarlat has a very big market, which is very well known. In fact, we are the 7th most visited town in France with over 2.5 million tourists a year. So we are having a market stand during the summer. That's
right.
another thing that needs to be done, right? Things of that sort you need to put into practice. Sponsoring, before we came in, they thought that sponsoring was a donation. So they were going to people and asking for money. They had nothing in return. For me, that helps, but that's just a simple donation, which people are free to do. But I'm actually going to offer you a sponsoring agreement where you can get a benefit for sponsoring the club. So, as you said before, this needs to be a win-win situation where you can actually provide value both sides. So if you are buying a sponsorship with the team, you need to be able to get something in return that at least equals the value. We always try to give more than that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just us, probably, in our mentality. Yes, this is what you get, but we usually try to perform a lot better and give you more, because that brings a long-term relationship that you can actually nurture and grow together. And all those things fall down into the monetization process. And every small club has the same problem. How do we monetize? How do we grow our communities? And how do we actually benefit from growing those communities? Because at the end of the day, that's what takes you further down the line, because it allows you to have a better stadium, a better infrastructure, a better team, better players. And it's a circle story where you can, if you get that, then you can actually invest more. You can keep growing. You can keep going up. You can. That's the objective we have. Actually, we want to go into pro division, that's second division in France, in the next 5 to 7 years.
Wow. All with the brand, the power of the brand. So you guys come in and you really, you have elements of a design firm there as well, that you'll come in and you'll redesign and okay. And the business model there, I like it. I think that's really smart. You guys figured it out, and Starlet is your social proof that you can show the results to all the other clubs that you're approaching. And
yes, in fact, what happened is quite the opposite. We didn't do any outreach, and the clubs are contacting us. How did you do this? How can we do it too? And that's where, Challenger X comes handy.
Smart. So equity deals, I guess, with these clubs, or are they paying you guys for your services?
We are doing a very small fee for this SaaS model. And then all the rest is, I would call it affiliates, but it's not. It's like commissions. So if we provide X amount in value, we get a percentage of what we do, which becomes very interesting because teams have nothing to lose.
Absolutely.
Their investment is very, very small, but their potential gains are so big that why would someone say no to such a potential deal? And in our case, it also makes us invest ourselves a lot more because we depend on the results that we bring to the table. In every relationship, that's always beneficial because you don't just expect me to be working with you, but I need to work side by side with you for us both to succeed at the same time.
Mutually beneficial relationships, right? It's win-win. It's always got to be the win-win situation.
Always.
Wow,
I agree.
There's a lot of depth there then behind the scenes. Like you guys have got the entire infrastructure figured out, and that's the offering, I guess. Really, is you're bringing that infrastructure and that expertise, and you're putting gasoline on these things to help these companies, the startups per se, to accelerate their own growth and bring in more revenue to them.
Yep.
So, wow, that's interesting. I like that. And you mentioned that there's tokens as well. So you're talking about you leveraging blockchain at this point. Is that right?
Exactly. We are currently minting tokens that are correlated to Ethereum. So at the end of the day, they become real money. The club always owns a piece of the tokens, and that's how they will. For starters, they will give their fan base, their community, the added value, or becoming and to be a part, supporting their club, which is crucial for success, giving them benefits and utility on those tokens. Because if the token has no utility,
right,
then it's a dead token and it doesn't fulfill the purpose. That's what we are building to for the teams, creating this utility and this. It becomes a means to do something. It's not just a token to own a token. That's why it's different from a security token. It's called a social token.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can actually do stuff, and what I love is that you can do whatever you want. Your dream has always been to do the kickoff of a game. Well, own a certain amount of tokens and participate on a raffle to become the next kickoff person, invited, fully paid by Sarla. And that's something you can do.
It's so creative.
Yeah.
That's so creative. I like that. The utility of it. I think I'm starting to make those connections in my mind there. So it's interesting.
Cool.
It's a very great business model. Yeah, I've got one additional question that I wanted to ask you in terms about leadership, being a player and essentially coming in now being a team leader. You're essentially now a coach. So a player in the sports world and then a coach in the business world. So what are some of the parallels and what have you learned as being a player and how has that influenced your leadership style? And what are the similarities in terms of a high-performing sports team versus a high-performing business team?
Well, I think the connection is right there. I would say, in my eyes, it's obvious, but I do like the question. So in terms of leadership, I've always liked to be, I would say, have one focus in mind is motivation. I think motivated people do extra work, outperform. And there's a couple different things that I usually try to achieve when thinking about that. One of them would be creating a good atmosphere, working atmosphere. So I'd like people to be happy to come to work, which is usually not the case. Oh, sad but true, probably. If you manage to have a nice time when you are working, You would probably invest yourself a lot more into the job. You would outperform. You would do more than required. When if you are just there because you need to be, you would probably do only the basic. You would never do extra. And I think I've learned that through rugby too, because when you actually feel part of a team, you're willing to do more for that team. And that's what we also create internally. So we create different teams for different projects that they work together. Even the sales teams inside our house, they work as a team. It's not just each of them separately, but we actually work as a team. I think that's very important into creating a work ethics and a team spirit that can actually take you further down the line, right? To being more efficient. But I do a firm believer that there's always people that are more capable than me, for instance, into specific tasks. And I'd rather have those people doing them instead of me, because they'll do them much better. But you need to be able to identify, and you need to be able to accept that there are people that outperform you, at least in a specific task. And you need to be able to say, hey, this is where you are much better than anyone else. Take care of this. And that brings the team to a whole different level. And also, you mentioned the connection to sports and whatnot. And again, when it comes to motivation, I always speak about leadership through example. I think it's one of the most stronger sources of motivation and of leadership. Mm-hmm. And I can see that the connection to a rugby game. I would say the All Blacks are very, very strong in this. They are the best team in the world the past 10 to 15 years. But one of the things I love about them is that maybe they are having a game which is quite monotonous. They're not doing well. And there's always 1, 2, 3 guys that start doing something extraordinary. But they're not telling the people around them, they are doing it. So one of them does a positive tackle, smashes someone in front of them, and the whole team starts to get excited. So
energy.
This guy has just saved us from that action with a 40-meter run. I need to be doing the same as him. I need to be investing myself at least to that level. And that turns to put the line up and incrementally push the line further and gets the momentum. I usually call it the snowball effect, because it keeps turning on, it keeps adding more people, and then unstoppable.
Wow. Okay. And just a follow-up question there. So when you have momentum and synergy going and you're integrating new people into that team, how do you get them, like, when you're merging on a highway and you have that lane where you have to catch up to speed and then merge, and you're running at the same speed at that point? How do you, with a high performing team, which it sounds like, based on your style and your background, it seems like you run a high performing team. How do you integrate new people and get them on that same level?
Usually we just throw them to the wolves. But not because we are mean, but I do think that you learn a lot by just being there, by experience. And also because I put you inside a team that's performing at a certain level. Of course, I don't expect you to be performing at that level at the beginning, but you yourself are going to be looking at the people around you. Oh, this dude is doing 100. This dude is doing 110. I'm at 50. I need to be doing much more to get to that level. And that, it's kind of a fear that steps in, but also this winning mentality that I always look for. I need to if it was me, I would say to myself, he's doing 100, I need to do 150. So I need to get there. And if I don't just push you in there, it's going to take a lot more time. And why not? I mean, I'm pushing you in there, but I'm also supporting you, giving you the tools to do it. I'm not just, hey, this is it, do it. Now, I'm actually giving you the tools, explaining 100 times if I need to, but supporting you in that sense. But yeah, I usually try to do just that, because I do think competition helps you overcome difficulties.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, and being a rugby player, you can identify that in other people, and then you kind of just coach to that and provide to that to build people up. And like you said earlier, it seems like you're very self-aware, so you know the strengths and weaknesses of others and how they can complement and help the project and overall bring value to the team. Always team first before the individual, right? For success.
100%.
Awesome. Well, Lucas, I mean, again, I don't want to keep you too long. I love talking to athletes. I love talking to competitors. I love talking to business people, because you see the world differently being an athlete and being a competitor. And I love that. I really appreciate your time, Lucas. If anybody is out there listening and they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to contact you?
I would say the best way is through LinkedIn. So just Lucas Caneda, LUCASCANEDA. Drop me a message. I'll be happy to reply. In any case, Bram, thank you for this opportunity. The pleasure was mine, having this conversation with you and with your audience. Complete pleasure being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucas. So this was episode number 7 of the Rise Above podcast. Be sure to subscribe. Share this with a friend who you think it may benefit. For anybody wanting to connect there with Lucas, check Lucas out on LinkedIn. Feel free to send him a message. Until next time, have yourselves a great day.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Rise Above podcast. Make sure to subscribe for future episodes, leave a review, and share with a friend who would love to hear this episode. This was the Rise Above podcast.